All right, now we're in chapter 3 of our course today, and this particular course is really focused on being able to self-analyze. Are you an athlete or a person that likes sports in business, or are you a business person in amateur sports? How are you kind of handling this situation? And it's very, very important to understand the difference. So I'll give you a real quick example. You may love to play hockey. Maybe you were a college player and you really love hockey, or you know, it's all you watch on TV, it's all you study, and you want to go out and really start an innovative program in the world of hockey. And one of the things that a lot of people make the mistake of is they focus on all the skills and drills and all the things that they're going to do for these players and all the things they're going to do in the community, but they never really analyze their business. They never really talk about their business. They don't focus on the business. And at the end of the day, it is a business. If you're doing this, whether it's a nonprofit organization, whether it's a for-profit organization, even if you're volunteering, these programs all need funds. They all need to be handled appropriately to be able to continue to sustain themselves. So the first point I want to talk about in this chapter is there's a huge difference between these two people. And the person that's a business person in sports will always win. Why? Because the sport that you're playing now is business. You're not playing your sport anymore. Again, going back to that hockey player. That hockey player may know their sport inside and out and know how to teach their sport and know how to develop their sport. But at some point, they're going to have interaction with customers. They're going to have interaction with communities. They're going to have business interaction. And if you can't master that, you're always going to have real high highs and real low lows, and you're never really going to be able to steady out. You're not going to be able to grow your program. You're not going to be able to train staff. You're not going to be able to manage certain things. You're not going to know what to do when a huge influx of cash comes in because player fees come in and how to set that up. So the guy who really, or the girl who really studies the business side just as hard as they do the sports side will always come out ahead. And if you're a person that fits into the demographic of kind of a sports junkie and you know everything about your sport, then let's work on our deficiencies, which might be the business side of things. Okay, you can also, if you're like, hey, I don't want to necessarily learn business. I'm not passionate about numbers. I'm not passionate about business plans. I'm not a suit and tie person or a business suit person. I just want to focus on what's going on the training floor or game floor. Then you've got to hire to that weakness. You've got to hire to that potential exposure that you have there. So whether it's a volunteer or somebody in your organization, or you actually hire somebody and pay them as an employee, you've got to have somebody on the eyeballs of the business side of things, kind of watching all the dials. I always compare it to flying a plane. You've got to have your set of dials that tell you if the plane is on course. And if things are getting low here, things are a little bit high here, you've got to have somebody looking at that constantly so that you can plan moving forward. Okay? The second point, and the reason this is so important to really know your business, master your business, is mission and margin not optional. You may have the greatest mission in the world to provide the best event, service in your community, in the state, in the country. But if you don't have margin, if you don't have enough margin in your program to support the expenses, to support the marketing that you need to have done, to support the business, then the mission goes nowhere. It's like having a ship that's got a leak, a huge leak. You may want to get somewhere, but you've got a huge problem that's not just going to go away, okay? So you have to understand that those types of things are not up for conversation. It's just the way it is. You've got to have enough margin in your program. And real quick, easy way to kind of calculate this is what I call the 20% rule, okay? So you write down all your goals for a particular program. For this particular conversation, we'll say it's a tournament, okay? And you think you're going to bring in X amount of teams. You have a pretty good idea of what your expenses are to execute that tournament. And what I always do is I say, take 20% of that and assume that 20% of those revenue dollars aren't going to come in. and then anticipate 20% increase in your cost. And if the program still looks like it's positive cash flow basically means you have more money than you spent, okay? Then I think it's a good idea to potentially roll that program out. If we can't get past that 20% rule on either side of the coin, then there's probably some holes in that program. Maybe you have to cut back on some expenses. And again, using this example, maybe you have to use less fields. Maybe you have to hire less people. Maybe you have to find a different official program that's maybe less cost on balls or materials or things of that nature. But the 20% rule is always a safe way to kind of eyeball, just kind of white paper an idea for you guys that are out there starting, a new program or a program that you're trying to expand. The next thing I want to talk about is, can you manage yourself or do you need to be managed? It's funny, but a lot of people get in a position of being a coach or a program director or a tournament director or an event director because they want to make sure that it's done their way and it's all about them and they've got something to say and they want a voice and they want to be able to put some things out there that resemble what they're thinking about. And it's really just an illusion if you think about it that way, because I don't care if it's your wife or your brother or your sister, there's always somebody that's going to hold you accountable. And I always particularly believe that it's good to have people that are going to hold you accountable. So my first bit of advice is develop an accountability group. Could be 3 people, could be 2 people, could be 1 person. Just, this is what I want to do, and here are the things I'm going to do to make that happen, and I want you to check in on me, or we're going to meet once a quarter or once a year or once a month, and I want that person holding me accountable. For example, the first time I wrote a book, I reached out to one of my friends, and he just kept calling me and telling me, hey, why don't you write a book? And I said, okay. And so, I said, okay, I'll write the book. And he just kept texting me and calling me, where's the book? Where's the book? When is it coming out? And after, a while, I was like, man, I just want to get this done. I want to get this completed. So it does help to have people that are pushing you along. We all need to be pushed, okay? When you're at the top, there's a lot of stuff happening. There's a lot of distractions. So develop an accountability group. Also, you might think about establishing a board of directors or an advisory group of people that are professionals, that have been successful in their own professional careers, that can help you with your accountability and also with some ideas on how to become more professional. Because I always think it's a great idea to continue to work on being more and more professional in your presentations. We're all going to have to walk into a boardroom at some point if we're thinking about seriously doing something. Or you may be talking to a parent who's an owner of 75 McDonald's franchises. Well, he's got a pretty, well-established professional life. He's going to be expecting some sort of presentation that really gets his appetite going to join your program. And as I said before, running the show is literally an illusion. You need to run the show, but whether it's the President of the United States or the President of a company, we're all held accountable. There's always people that need to keep us in check. And that's really the best practice to start a program or have a program run efficiently, is to put yourself in a situation where people are going to make sure that you're doing what you say you're going to do, and it only adds to your program. And there's a lot of people out there that are willing to help you really probably for nothing. Really, they want to see, my experience has been people who've been successful, they want to see other people be successful as well. The next point, are you studying your new sport? So if you're an athlete or a junkie and you love sports and now you want to get into the business of it, every business is different. Just because you ran a software company or just because you ran a furniture company does not mean you know this business. It's a new sport. It's a new situation. Maybe you work at a huge corporation and you want to leave that corporate job and start this new athletic program. Just because you did that doesn't mean you know how this works. You know these customers, you know this market, you know the untold rules of that particular market. Every sport has different rules that are really not talked about unless you're involved in that community. So are you studying it? Are you reading books about your sport or business in general, just to kind of get your business IQ up? Are you going to conferences and social networking events that are associated with your particular line of work that you now want to get into? If the answer to that question is no, you need to start getting out there and start networking with people. I've learned so many things over a 13-year career that I would have never known had I not just talked to another person doing something similar to myself in a different part of the country, or maybe down the street, but I didn't know that's how they did things. And a lot of those relationships can turn into business down the road. So you want to make sure you're out there, you're being seen, and you're talking about great new ideas. We're never going to stop learning. Just like we tell our players, we've got to continue to work on our craft. Last but not least, study other businesses that you find fascinating. A lot of the ideas that I've been able to implement into my program came from other sports. Hey, this is the way this sport's trending, or maybe some other business that I really find fascinating that has a piece of technology that I think can really help my business. So study some other businesses out there. Talk to other people about what you're doing and ways you can improve on it. Okay, we just always got to be looking for ways to improve our business skills. We're always doing it. I've been in business for 13 years. I'm constantly learning. I'm constantly researching. I'm constantly studying people because I feel that keeps me alive. That keeps my vision true. And it really gets you through the tough times that we're all going to face at some point if we feel like at some point somebody else had that problem and it's probably written down somewhere that we can find the answer, or in today's world, even on social media or YouTube or a lot of other particular angles on the internet, you can find answers to some of these questions. And obviously, working with experienced people in business is always a really good idea because they bring a whole new level of insight. And if you can be what I say the dumbest guy in the room, then you're in the right place. You want to be the guy that's really in a situation where you're surrounding yourself with people that can teach you and teach you at a high level.